It was a crisp autumn morning in our quiet suburban neighborhood in Maplewood, New Jersey, when I discovered my prized possession was gone. My 1976 Corvette convertible, a cherry red beauty inherited from my late father, was no longer parked on the street in front of my house. In its place was a note, taped to my front door, that would unravel a tale of envy, power abuse, and sweet justice. This is the story of how my neighbor, Linda, decided she owned my car and learned the hard way that she didn't. Let me set the scene. I'm Margaret, 54, a high school history teacher with 2 grown kids who've made me Perdone's an honor roll student at college. The other captains his university soccer team. I don't flaunt their achievements, but I'm quietly thrilled. My life is steady, anchored by routine and the occasional Sunday drive in my Corvette, a car that hums with memories of my dad. Then there's Linda, 2 houses down, the self-appointed queen of our homeowners association. Linda's the kind of person who thrives on being the center of attention, always boasting about her kids' private school or her shiny new Cadillac. She's 52, with a knack for turning every conversation into a competition, and I could tell she had it out for me. My kids outshine hers academically, and my classic car? Well, let's just say it drew more admiring glances than her luxury SUV ever did. The trouble started when I woke up to find my Corvette missing. The note on my door was from Linda, written in her neat, self-important scrawl, claiming she'd had my car towed on behalf of the HOA. According to her, my old, unsafe vehicle violated neighborhood bylaws, posing a danger to the community. She cited rules about abandoned or hazardous cars, which didn't. A Plymouth Corvette was in great shape, lovingly maintained, and I drove it regularly. Sure, I parked it on the street since our house lacks a garage, but it was no junker. It was a classic, worth at least $50,000, and Linda knew it. Her note even sneered that vintage cars are useless relics, as if my prized possession was some rusty hazard ready to mow down kids on tricycles. I was livid but kept my cool. Linda's power trip as HOA president was no secret. She loved the title more than the responsibility. She'd always been jealous of my car, muttering about her Cadillac whenever I drove by. I marched to her house, note in hand, and demanded my Corvette back. Linda, sipping coffee in her pristine kitchen, smirked and told me to drive a normal car to avoid trouble. Then she had the audacity to claim my car was worthless, so I wasn't losing much. I pointed out that I hadn't broken any HOA rules and that the car was my property. She shrugged, unmoved, and refused to return it. That's when I decided to fight fire with fire. Right there in her driveway, I called the police and reported my car stolen, pointing out that the thief was standing in front of me. Linda's face went pale, but she didn't back down. When the officers arrived, I showed them her note, and she made it easy by admitting she'd taken the car. As HOA president, it's my duty to enforce the rules, she said, as if she were some kind of suburban sheriff. The police weren't impressed. They explained she had no legal right to confiscate my property and gave her 2 options: return the car immediately or provide documentation proving it was abandoned or unsafe. Linda, flustered, couldn't produce any paperwork because there was none. My car wasn't abandoned, and it certainly wasn't a danger. The officers laid it out plainly: return the car or face charges for grand theft auto. Linda, still clinging to her HOA crown, seemed to think her title made her untouchable. She was wrong. After a brief standoff, the police arrested her, cuffs and all, right in her manicured front yard. Neighbors peeked through curtains as she was led to the patrol car, her protests echoing down the street. A search warrant revealed she'd hidden my Corvette in a rented storage locker, planning to auction it off online. She'd even taken photos to list it, proving she knew its value all along. Worse, they found evidence she'd done this before, confiscating neighbors' cars under flimsy HOA pretexts, selling them for profit, and pocketing the cash. Her own bylaws forbade board members from profiting off confiscated property, yet she'd been running a small-time scam. The courtroom was a spectacle. Linda pleaded not guilty, insisting she was just doing her job as HOA president. Her defense was laughable. She dug herself deeper with every word, boasting about her authority while contradicting the very rules she claimed to uphold. The judge wasn't having it. Linda was convicted of grand theft auto and additional charges for her past schemes. She'd sold other cars, pocketing modest sums, but my Corvette was her big scorer, so she thought. Her final, desperate argument? Since the car wasn't damaged, it was like she'd borrowed it, so she shouldn't face consequences. I had to stifle a laugh as the judge shut her down. The fallout was swift and brutal. Linda was sentenced to prison, ordered to pay hefty restitution to me and other victims, calculated based on the value of our cars and the time she'd held them. My payout was substantial, covering the emotional and financial toll of her stunt. Linda's expensive lawyer, who did little but shush her in court, drained her savings. She had to sell her house to cover legal fees, fines, and restitution. Her kids, no longer able to afford private school, moved to live with their father in another state. The HOA, it collapsed into chaos. The board resigned, and while we still pay dues, no one runs the show. The money sits in an account, untouched, and I'm too busy with my teaching job and kids to care about dissolving it. Looking back, I can't help but wonder how Linda's faring in prison. Does she still act like the main character, bossing inmates around? I doubt it goes over well. Her ego drove her to ruin envy of my car, my kids' success, and my quiet confidence pushed her to cross a line she couldn't uncross. I got my Corvette back, gleaming as ever, and I drive it with pride, knowing justice was served. This story, though, isn't just about a car or a nosy neighbor. It's about power, envy, and the consequences of thinking you're above the law. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever dealt with someone like Linda, who abused their authority or let jealousy cloud their judgment? What do you think about the role of justice in cases like this? Does it go far enough or too far? Share your experiences and take a stand. Let's get the conversation going.